Welcome back to another episode of Coach D's Corner. Listen, we got a heater for y'all today. I cannot believe what we saw on Sunday. I can't believe it, Pop.
Man, you better believe it because it might be happening. it might be happening a little more often than we want to happen.
Yeah. This is a good Jets defense we're going up against right now, and not right now, but coming up this week. But man, there were some indicators in this game as to some issues that might be developing in the locker room, right? One of the things that I do want to ask you about is this, because there are a lot of people going on about, fire McDermott and all that kind of stuff, right? But what I hear a lot of people,
especially after what the Jets just did.
Yeah, exactly. They set the example now, and did you know that's the first time they've ever done that in franchise history?
Yeah,
which is crazy. But let me see what you think about this. So, to anybody that comes out and says fire McDermott, right? The next response that you usually hear is, well, who are you going to replace him with? Which annoys the heck out of me because that's beside the point. Right. The point is, like, I look at it like this. If I see a roach crawling up on my wall, and then I see another one crawling up on my wall, and I start to see like I might have a problem here, right? Then I see 4 or 5 more the next day. Oh no. We got to fix this problem right now. I'm not gonna wait until I've figured out what I'm gonna replace the roaches with. I got to get rid of the problem right now, right? But what are your thoughts on that? Because, I mean, obviously, with Josh Allen being the quarterback here for years to come, it's going to be a prime job if it does open up. But what are your thoughts on that?
Well, when you're talking about switching out a head coach, I get your roach analogy, but it's a little more complicated than that.
Get that bad boy out of there right now.
You gotta have somebody who can come in and at least settle things down. Establish some order. I shouldn't say come in, somebody on the staff that can settle things down, create some order, pull things together, keep things from imploding. And I just don't know if the Bills have that. I don't know if this was strategic by the head coach and the general manager, but if you get rid of McDermott now, which I don't know, I know how you feel about it. I don't know if it's to that extreme yet. I don't know if you have the chaos that you had in New York between the quarterback and the head coach and the offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have that kind of chaos. I don't know if you, and then ownership, like the Jets ownership was really a big part. I mean, you had the quarterback talking to the owner once, twice a week. So I don't know if you have that dynamic. You know what I think? I think that this is a let's whatever happens year, and that's already been discussed with the ownership, and where the chips fall, they're gonna fall this year. I don't think McDermott's job is in jeopardy at all. I think he has a level of confidence by the ownership of this transition from what they were to what they are now. What they won't say or what they've said in code is a rebuilding year over the next year or two. Like the Bills are
transition year.
Whether we want to accept that or not, whether the fans want to accept that or not, they are rebuilding. And the expectation of them rebuilding is not to be the team they was 2-3 years ago. It's just not going to be that. You can look at it from the last 2 weeks have told you that from a talent perspective. And I'm seeing some things now from a coordination perspective, at least on the offensive side of the ball, which says, Brady still got some growing to do.
Yeah. And I mean, it's tough. It's tough because from a certain perspective, and we'll get into a little bit more detail about this a little bit later, but from a certain perspective, it does look like Josh is frustrated out there. Yeah. And
I wish we had the clip. There was this one instance where he just kind of ran off the field. You know how you run off the field sometime, and you get friends doing something, and you kind of run off the field. You can tell But you can tell you thinking about what happened. But he kind of ran off the field like he had an attitude, just went and sat down and didn't say nothing to nobody. It's like one of those things. I wish we could. I was looking for it on the R22. I couldn't find him. He just kind of ran off the field like he didn't like the play call, and he just kind of forced to make a bad throw, and he just you slammed himself on the bench, and the camera followed him the whole time. I'm like, oh, he upset about something. And
I'm gonna see if I can find that, and I'll post it. I'll tweet it out.
I think the frustration is, a lot of things, but you can speculate all we want, but I think a lot of it's built into this, what they're masking as efficient offense, which really means limit Josh and what he can do, limit him throwing it down the field, limit, and the way they're limiting that is through the play structure and the play calls.
Right.
And that can be frustrating. Right. That could be frustrating to a quarterback like a Josh Allen. And that's why that's why we're going to see him make some throws that he probably wasn't supposed to make.
All right. I like where this is going. Okay. So let's take a look at the first one here. I'll bring it up right now. We'll add that to the stage, and then we'll solo it. Okay. Is that yep, that's on there. Okay, perfect. So what do we have right now?
Well, what we got, first thing we know is we got an empty look, right? I can't remember the down and distance on that. I wish we see the down and distance, but we got an empty look. I think it's third down, might be third down. But and you got a 3x2 balls on the right hash, which is interesting that you have your 3x2 to the short side of the field. But
why is that interesting?
Well, normally you want to put you put the three receivers to the wide side of the field because you got more room. Just because you got more room, space for them to operate in. Right?
Okay.
When you I can't see the top. Is there a guy at the top?
Let me see. That is the top.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the top.
Do the Bills got enough players on the field? Oh no, he's at the guy's at the bottom. No, I'm wrong. I see the guy at the bottom. I didn't see the guy on the. He below the numbers. The three receiver side is to the wide side of the field. You got a guy below the numbers. I see that. So with this play here, they're empty, and they're letting you know there's no ifs, ands, buts about it. We throwing the football, and what they got called here, this is something they saw in film, and it's something that they felt like they can get because of the aggressiveness of the safeties. And we'll see that because the route that's ran by 13 is, from a professional wide receiver standard, is poor at best. But because of the aggressiveness of the safety, they still had a shot. Josh just missed it, but it was great play design. I think it was called at the right time, but they just got executed.
Okay. All right. So one of the things that I noticed real quick before we start this play and the play in question at the end of the game that everybody's talking about, the deep throw to Mac Hollins, they are almost identical. It just happens that this same play has different personnel on this one than it did in the play call that they had later on at the end of the game. So we'll go ahead and play it, and let's see what you see, Coach.
Let me say this, you're exactly right. It is actually the same play call, just from a different personnel perspective, but it's the same pattern. It's the same route that they threw at the end of the game. It's just from a different personnel pack, but all the routes are still the same.
Okay. All right, here we go. So what do you see?
Well, let's see. You have the slot guy about to run a what we call a stop and go on the safety, but because of the aggressiveness of the safety, up at the top, because of the aggressiveness of the safety, the route was, again, it was poor at best from a professional wide receiver standpoint. But you have everything short. They caught the Texans in this cover two, this Tampa 2 look, and they had the right call on at the right time. They just didn't. Josh didn't make. Josh could have made a better throw, but also, the receiver. I can't think of his name right now. What's the name of your name?
The one at the top there.
Yeah, 13.
Mac Hollins.
Mac Hollins should have, and I think I heard you mention this on the show. I mean, you got to be able to track the ball better, and the ball hit your hands, and you're supposed to catch it.
Yeah, and it definitely did.
Yeah, ball hit his hands. He should have caught it. He knows he should have caught it when you see his reaction land on the ground. But the protection was great. The route concept, the play call was great. The play design of the play was great. I mean, you could argue Josh got him. I mean, you could argue it. Josh, make a better throw, but he got to be able to track the ball and go get the ball now. And it just didn't happen.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
And it just didn't happen.
Okay. This jab step. Can you talk about
I'll say this: a number one receiver makes that play.
Okay, but what do you say to those people that say, well, Stephon Diggs messed it up in the playoffs?
Well, I mean, you might this particular pass, this particular throw, the deep ball throw, is the lowest completion percentage completed pass in all of football. But
yeah, that's true.
I'll put my money on Stephon Diggs making this play more often than Matt Collins making this play.
Okay. So this jab step that we see from Matt Collins here, I'll just run it again.
I think you're being nice by calling it a jab step. I think it's more just a hesitation. I mean, again, the idea of a when you're running a double move on a safety is you want to write and again, it wasn't really necessary for him to do much more. I think it's a film study. I think this particular safety probably on film he showed a propensity to jump anything or bending over the middle, and so at times just to lean on the inside. Right, he still would get a positive grade for this route because he made the defense. All they want you to do is the safety to stop his feet, right, and you get behind him. But again, from a professional wide receiver's perspective, this route isn't all that great. But it was enough.
Okay.
It was effective enough. In this instance, we're gonna see in another instance where it wasn't effective enough. But in this instance, it was effective enough because this particular safety, he jumped it a little bit harder than the other one did in another clip. But I think it's just a matter of tracking the ball and making a play.
Do you think that this? You know what? Actually, can you just tell me what should have been Josh's read on this play? Was it Matt Collins? Was that the
whole time
the primary? Okay.
The whole time, Matt Collins was the guy. In this particular case, and I say that prefacing the next clip. In this particular case, the idea was get the ball to Matt Collins down the field for a big play. Like no doubt about it. Down 7-0, trying to get back into the game. Like we need to score. This play was designed, called, thought about. Get Matt Collins, practice all week, get him the ball down the field.
One thing that I didn't notice before I came to review the tape was number one here, Curtis Samuel.
Yeah.
He was on the field. I didn't think he was on the field for these plays, to be honest. And I think I did say in the podcast yesterday, he wasn't targeted if he was running beyond the line of scrimmage. Except for maybe one or two times that I can remember. I still got to go back and look at that. But anyway,
we're gonna see he should have been.
Okay. All right. But what are your thoughts though on the skill set of Matt Collins being the one running this deep route? I mean, you got your deep route runner right there.
Well, I mean, we don't know. I mean, I don't know Matt Collins is,
it's not this. It's not that he's only been a number 2 receiver one season, and I think he's been targeted this many times in one other season other than this. So he's not a starting receiver.
Yeah. So I think I pointed this out to you before. I mean, he's still on all the special teams, right? So
yeah,
I don't know how you got a guy that's supposed to be your number one. I guess he's not a number one, but he's a starting X receiver who's considered to be a big play guy, still on all the special teams. I mean, that says a lot about. And they would try to flip it and tell you a lot about his skill set and his ability to play, both. But no, you don't want to. You want that guy to preserve all of the energy. You don't want that guy to, be a guy who's you don't want to risk injury, because you need him out there. This again goes to show you that the idea of a one-less receiving core. Hey, we can just plug anybody in there and they'll get the job done, how that's a failure up to this point.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, let's get to play number 2, right? Because this was basically the setup for that.
Yeah.
And, okay. So this is that there. All right.
And there's a lot going on at this particular point in the game, right? And I think we would have to discuss some other things that's related to this play, as far as, you know, as everybody else been talking about, and everybody has been coming down to McDermott about, you should have just ran the ball and forced them to use their timeouts, punt it away, and see what happens there. Obviously, hindsight is 2020. McDermott took complete responsibility for the call, but I think more importantly though is how this end of the game series was communicated between the head coach, the offensive coordinator, the quarterback coach, and Josh Allen. Like, what was the communication system like? What was the breakdown? Because it looked as if McDermott wanted one thing, but the offensive coordinator, the quarterback coach, and Josh Allen wanted something else. And I think that's what's important here, is to see how are they communicating with each other now, and why is there a breakdown at this particular point in the game?
Okay. All right. Well, let's start to play here.
Again, it's like you said, it's the same play. They just flop sides, they switch sides, and you had two guys that I think, pause it. You got two guys right now that you can throw the ball to. If the idea was clearly communicated to Josh Allen, hey, we're just looking to get a first down and end the game and go in overtime. If that was communicated, which I in my mind, I can't see Josh. If that was communicated, the team got it, he is. Unless, as you pointed out earlier, he's extremely frustrated and he's just gone rogue. But I can't see him not making these reads as easy as they are. If all we're trying to do is get a first down and get in overtime. Because right off the bat, you have Kincaid, who is supposed to be your number one guy, wide open. Why is Josh not taking this throw? It's the easiest throw a quarterback can make. Why is he not making this throw? And if you run it, just run it real quick and stop it. One more time. Now, you go back a little bit. I'll tell you when to stop it.
Okay.
Again, as we'll see, same coverage. Stop it. This was right before Josh made this throw. You got the guy on the 15-yard line coming wide open too. Nope.
Oh yeah, the anticipation throw.
You got this guy coming wide open too.
Yeah. Right? But was he running? I mean, by the time the ball's in the air, but
no. You could see it. Josh could see that. He could see that.
No, I just meant was and that's Tyrell Shavers there. Was Shavers supposed to run a square in, or was he running a post?
He probably was supposed to.
That's the thing.
So he reads that. So what happens is, if he feel like he can run past the safety, he's running that skinny post. He's bending it in. But if the safety's too deep, then he breaks it off as a square and stop it. Right now, when Josh is making that throw, he can make an easier throw and a safer throw to Shavers right now.
Yeah.
Josh ain't thinking about that. Josh ain't thinking about that at all. Right? Now, one could be because they missed this throw earlier in the game. Josh wanted to come back to it. That could be the case. That could be the case as well. But I think I just for some reason I feel like the idea of how we want to manage the game was not clearly communicated to Josh. And that's why
when you say not clearly communicated, do you mean in terms of how can I phrase this question? Do you think this is a situation where Sean gave some options and the coordinator went with, you know what I mean? Because
it's hard to say. No, I get what you're going.
I don't know. I just can't imagine. Like, I just can't imagine Josh being in that situation at the end of the game with all that on the line and choosing that.
Right. But where the breakdown happened, we don't know. We do know that we see head coach Sean McDermott on the sideline after, I think it was this play, saying all we need is 10 yards. All we need is 1 first down. So again, I don't know if we don't know where the breakdown happened, but I'm willing to bet the house on it that it wasn't communicated to Josh what the game management strategy was going to be. Or why would he not look at Kincaid, who was from the alignment was open. And then why wouldn't he, if he wasn't going to throw it to Kincaid, why wouldn't he take this squirming behind it, which would have clearly given you a first down on the reception, on the catch itself? But instead, he decides to throw this hitch and go on the safety, which is not even open.
Yeah, to
me, pause it. And also, to me, this is where the offensive coordinating details are starting to bother me, because when you look at this formation, look to the trip side, right? They got it right on the double two receiver side, right? The guy normally the guy that has the deeper route for timing purposes is the receiver that's on the line of scrimmage. We don't see that on the trip side. And as we know in the NFL, timing is everything. You have it's like 2.3 seconds to get the ball off. And if you're late at all, you risk a whole lot. You risk interceptions, you risk incompletions, you risk sack fumbles, you risk a lot. So for them to line up like this and not have the number 2 receiver on the 3 receiver side, not on the line of scrimmage, to me is just a lack of attention to detail that could cost you here, but could cost you in the long run. And that's on the offensive coordinator.
Right. One of the things that I was saying about the coordinator Brady is he's not setting these things up. He's not, like if you look at the bootleg that they did, I think it might have been third quarter. The bootleg they did, they had like maybe 1 or 2 zone runs before that weren't run to that degree. You know what I mean? Like, a bootleg is something you have to set up. That's a part of a whole offense that was designed to unlock the power of the bootleg. Well, when you just do that out of the blue.
I'm sorry, what Brett would argue in this case is, we're coming to the game averaging 4 for almost 5 yards a carry. So you don't when you're averaging 4 to 5 yards a carry, you don't necessarily have to go in the game to set it up in that sense. He would argue that.
Okay.
Right? And they understand that. But again, real-time success matters. So if you haven't been successful, I don't know if you're talking about earlier in the game or second half, or I don't know when you.
No, this was third quarter. This was third quarter after they kind of shut the run down.
Right. So third quarter, you got it, and based on that, because real-time game success hasn't happened yet for the run game, then you're right. You have to set it up. You got to show, hey, I'm going to run the ball anyway. But coming into the game, the scouting report says they can run the ball, so we got to stop them from running the ball. You got to stay alert. So play action earlier in the game, you wouldn't have to set it up. But in this case, second half, after they've proven they can stop the run, you have to now establish you can run the ball on this particular team before a play action or boot action really has the success that it's designed to have.
Right. So in this game, really quick before we get to the last play, in your mind, the formula for stopping the Bills, this is not in your mind, but I want your opinion on this. The formula for the Bills.
The whole league's mine now. Everybody knows. Everybody knows.
That's where I was getting to.
Everybody know. Yeah. Everybody know. Man them up. You can get to the quarterback with 4 receivers. And you know, they're doing some unique things. Like the Texans did some unique things. They're manned up. I think we saw this I think we first started with Baltimore. They're manning up the two receiver side, and they're zoning with the jump concept on the three.
I did see that.
Right.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you know, when you can man up the running back and the wide guy on the short side, and if you can cover with two on the short side and four on the strong side,
we're kind of losing you there.
Ain't nobody getting open. Say it again. You hear me?
You were breaking up really bad. You want to just go through that again?
Yeah, I said if you can,
I'll cut that part out.
If you can, and what a lot of teams are doing is they're manning up the short side, the two receiver side, and they're zone reading. What I mean by zone reading, if a receiver comes in your zone, you jump, you take them as if it's in man. They're zone reading, they're covering 4 with 3. Like that makes it tough. That makes it tough for people to get open. And so you see teams doing that because here's why, because you're able to pressure Josh with just 4.
Yep.
When you're able to pressure him, you don't have to sack him. I know a lot of people think, well, he ain't you don't have to sack the quarterback. All you got to do is pressure him, rush him, hurry him up. If you can do that with 4, it's going to be hard for folks to get open on the back end.
Yeah. Especially if you don't have the number one guy that understands exactly what he needs to do at that point to make himself available for Josh on a hot read, or for Josh to just check to his number one and say, look, it's coming. You need to get open. Right. And have that dependable guy that he knows that can do that. And with Shakir dealing with a high ankle sprain, like we talked about before, like that's going to linger all season. Matter of fact, can you just talk about, because I don't think a lot of people understand. There's a lot of people saying, "Oh, Shakir will be back, this coming week." And can you just talk about what a high ankle sprain means for a wide receiver?
The high ankle sprain, and most people may notice, that's the worst type of ankle sprain a skilled position player can have, because the force of shiftiness and cutting and stopping and decelerating and accelerating all starts in that ankle region. And the high ankle sprain, I say the higher the sprain, it'll be between the ankle and the calf, the worse it can be. And that strain can linger. I'm talking about it can linger. I was in college my senior year. I had a high ankle sprain. I actually thought it was broken. Like I actually thought my ankle was broke, but it was really a high ankle sprain, and it lingers the whole season. Like you have to take off at least, like if you're talking about like heal, that's like a 4 to 6 week healing process for a high ankle sprain. And your inability to decelerate and accelerate on that high ankle sprain is second to none. So I mean, if it's truly a high ankle sprain, I don't see him coming back for, I mean, being himself, another 4 weeks.
Wow. And even with this, so after he gets to the point where he can play back at the same speed that he's used to playing, is it a situation where, with the training team kind of working on him every week and the right maintenance on it, it'll just be a pain management thing from there on out, or is it something where the pain is just going to be there no matter what and he's got to play through it?
Well, if he was to take, if he tries now to come back and play through it, it'll take the rest of the season. No, really, I'm like okay. If he try to come back too early, like it could take 6 to 8 weeks. Really, it could take 6 to 8 weeks to heal. If he took off the next 2 to 4 weeks and decided to come back for the second half of the season, what we in? Week 5? What we in? Week 5 or 6?
Yeah, week 5.
Week 5. So if he took off the next,
we're going into week 6. Sorry,
going into 6 weeks. If he took off the next 4 weeks and came back week 10, he could finish the rest of the season and virtually be completely healed, pain free, right? But if he tried to play on it, and the idea would be as it gradually gets better, you play more. Like that's what they would want you to do. It could linger the rest of the season.
We're running out of time really quick. Based on what you've seen from the other receivers, do you think this team could survive going to week 10 without him?
What have we seen from the other receivers?
Well, in my opinion,
That's my question. That's really the answer to the question.
Right?
No,
Yeah.
I think. I mean, you'll survive because those guys, they were professional wide receivers. They got a level of skill that enables them to be on the field. But no, realistically, those guys are professionals. Like they've shown enough skill and ability to be on the field. But what we're talking about is, are they good enough to win games? Are they good enough to win on third down? Are they good enough to win when you backed up inside the 2-yard line on the 3-yard line and you need the guy to get open to make a play? Are they good enough to do that in those situations where you can win football games? The NFL is not about being good enough just to compete, but it's about winning. And they haven't shown up to this point that they have the playmaking ability to win football. And it's not just about doing it once or twice. We see Keon make a play on third down and beat the man-to-man and score a touchdown early in the game, but can he do it in the fourth quarter when you backed up on the goal line, right? And that's when it matters. You got to be win consistent enough to where, you know, we can count on you in this situation to make plays. And they just haven't shown that. Samuel, we know he can do it. He's done it before. We know, you know, Keon has shown us flashes, but can those other guys do it? Can Kincaid do it when it counts? And now you got to, you know, look at what the dynamics. Can Josh do it? Can he do it with this group when it matters? You know, so I think there's still a lot of questions to be answered when it comes to this wide receiver group and the overall passing game.
Okay. I don't think we're gonna have time for that last play because you got to get going. So we'll cap it here. And man, I mean, the last thing I need to ask you though, seriously, is with where the Bills are right now, is this game against the Jets in your mind a must win for the Bills? Is this, I know you've already said because of where they are in the transition year, you know, and how how the ownership group, you know, like we've talked about this before, the owner loves Sean, right? And this is not a situation where we should be worrying about Sean's job, because unless they lose every game the rest of the season, he's probably not going anywhere. So does that make this game in particular, is this a must win? Is this a save your season type of situation for the players? Could Sean lose the locker room if they lose this game and make it 3 in a row?
Well, I wouldn't say it's a must win to save the season, because they can be 3-3, and I think they still have the capacity to finish with over 10 wins, even if they lose this game, right? I think it's a must win though, from this perspective. You're playing against an organization that's in chaos. You're playing against a coaching staff that's in disarray. You're playing against a player pool that's not sure what's going on with the organization, what's happening with the team. Yeah. You're playing against players in the locker room that's they're not sure, you know. And when you're playing against an organization that's like in transition, like you would think there's a big enough edge from a coaching perspective, from a player unity perspective, from a coaching cohesiveness perspective, that we should win this ball game. If you don't win this ball game with all of that happening in New York right now, what's happening in your camp? What's happening in your camp?
There it is.
And I think that's why they must win this game. Not to save the season. I still think they can get 10 wins even if they lose this game. It's going to be hard now. Don't get me wrong. Yes. But the potential is there. But I just think if you don't beat the Jets this week, man, it says a lot about the structure, the organization, the functionality, and how things are going behind your curtain.
Yeah, I think they could potentially lose Josh if they and I just mean from an interest standpoint. You know, I mean, I think he's frustrated already, and we're going into week 6, and he's, you know, he's showing his frustration in you know, essentially ignoring. Is ignoring a good way of putting it when he's throwing deep balls and they need first downs?
Well, again, I think that's more of a lack of communication to Josh what the game management strategy would be in this particular case. You know, Josh, as
we've seen a lot of that before too.
Yeah, he's a team guy.
Okay. Okay.
There's a couple other clips. I think one of the clips we were gonna get to where he hesitated to make a throw. Now that might have been Josh, freelancing. I'm not sure, but
You talking about the bubble screen to Samuel?
Like, yeah,
Yeah.
he should have thrown that. That might have been Josh freelancing and not liking the calls, and man, I'm not making that throw. But I think overall, I think you got a situation where if Josh is frustrated at all, it's because what's been built into the structure of play construction and play calling. And it's obvious, Sean is a defensive head coach. He think he can win games with this defense. He just don't want the quarterback to lose it. And they want to cut down on Josh's turnover to touchdown ratio. And they built that into the structure of the play calling, which can be frustrating for Josh.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. I am considering this game a must-win for the Buffalo Bills. My opinion is I thoroughly think that we're going to see some guys start to fall off if they lose to the Jets and all the chaos, like you said, that they're in. That's going to be tough. With all the competition they got coming up, it's going to be tough.
Yeah, and I know you saying it's a must win, but you're playing against probably one of the best secondaries in the NFL.
Yeah,
and the defense is playing pretty good for the Jets. Just been offense that's stinking it up.
Yeah, they're a top 10 defense,
and it's
sure.
It's going to be tough sledding out there for the offense this week. It's just going to be tough. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough.
Right. All right. Well, listen, with that said, thank you for coming on and doing this again every week. I'm always going to thank you no matter what. But listen, for everybody out there, if you have not done this yet, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell so that you can get those notifications whenever we come out with this content, because this is a little bit different from our lives. We at the latest, we usually try to get these videos out by Wednesday evening. And so that's when you should check for Coach D's Corner, right? Listen, thank y'all for watching. This has been another episode of Coach D's Corner. I have been your co-host, Aramis, alongside Coach D.
Coach D.
Right?
Yeah,
Coach D. All right. So we'll see y'all later. Y'all have a good night.
Peace.